Personal standards often begin as internal arrangements, small rules adopted for comfort, clarity, or control. Most remain contained, shaping daily habits without affecting anyone else, and usually they pass unnoticed. But occasionally, a rule is enforced so consistently that it begins to assert itself beyond the individual who holds it, pressing against environments that do not accommodate absolutes. When that happens, reactions tend to follow a predictable sequence: curiosity, accommodation, fatigue, and eventually, resistance, not out of malice, but necessity. What remains to be considered is not why such standards exist, but how easily they shift from preference to expectation, and what quietly erodes when flexibility is treated as compromise, rather than coexistence.
This document investigates the life and dietary practices of Mr. Larry Jasper, commonly referred to in local media as the pizza purist. It chronicles his singular commitment to pizza as the sole component of his adult diet, the resulting behavioral patterns, and the socio-cultural ramifications of his culinary absolutism. From today, it's pizza or nothing. These were the famous words of Larry when he turned 18, over a decade ago. Initially dismissed as a juvenile outburst, this declaration evolved into a binding personal doctrine. Family interviews reveal mixed reactions. His mother, Susan Jasper, recalls, "We thought it was a phase, like when he got really into yo-yos in middle school. But weeks passed and he stuck to it, only eating pizza. He refused everything else." Teachers at his community college noted his dietary habit but didn't intervene, assuming it was an exercise in personal freedom. However, classmates recounted instances where Larry declined free food at social events, including birthday cakes, sandwiches, and even water, if pizza wasn't present. He maintained strict adherence to this framework: no gluten-free crusts, no alternative cheeses. Even regional variations like deep dish pizza were deemed borderline acceptable but pushing the limits. His preferred style was the classic New York slice: thin crust, foldable, simple. When pizza was unavailable, whether due to logistical challenges or financial constraints, Larry would opt to abstain from food entirely, sometimes enduring periods of up to 16 days without nourishment. During these fasts, he was reported to exhibit a paradoxical calmness, describing the experience as a cleansing of impurities introduced by the world's culinary chaos. He also kept a meticulous pizza log documenting every slice consumed. The log, spanning over 15 years, includes entries detailing the pizzeria, type of pizza, quality ratings, and emotional reflections. An excerpt from May 14, 2017, reads, 2 slices from Angelo's on 5th. Sauce ratio perfect. Slightly too much cheese. Felt at peace afterward. His dedication bordered on the monastic. He reportedly meditated before meals, focusing on the essence of the slice, a personal ritual designed to heighten the dining experience. But what began as an internal discipline soon extended outward. When confronted with violations of what he considered the sacred form, Larry did not remain silent. Documented incidents include: in 2012, Brooklyn, Larry was removed from a food festival after overturning a vendor's table offering sushi pizza. Witnesses reported hearing him shout, "This is an abomination," before flipping the table. Or in 2015, Chicago, he was temporarily banned from a local pizzeria after a verbal altercation over their buffalo chicken pizza special. Employees described him as visibly shaking with rage as he denounced the menu. Then there was the incident in 2018. San Francisco, a widely publicized breakdown occurred when Larry encountered an Indian pizza featuring curry sauce and paneer. Witnesses described his reaction as volcanic, culminating in his sweeping the sample trays off the vendor's table with both arms, and the vocalization of what court documents would later define as culinary hate speech. When questioned during legal proceedings, Larry stated, "It's not pizza if it doesn't honor the form. Indian pizza. That's culinary blasphemy in sauce form." These incidents escalated in frequency and severity. culminating in his formal identification as the pizza purist across multiple jurisdictions. Social media amplified his notoriety, with hashtags like #PizzaPuristMeltdown trending after each incident. Dr. Valerie Nunez, a sociologist specializing in food cultures, offered the following analysis. Larry's reactions, while extreme, highlight the tensions between culinary tradition and innovation. His case forces us to confront an uncomfortable question. At what point does a reinterpretation of a dish cease to be the dish itself? Other experts propose that his behavior stems from a deeper psychological need for control. In a world of constant change, Larry found solace in the immutable structure of the pizza slice, simple, reliable, and predictable. However, not all assessments were sympathetic. Dr. Harris Feldman, a behavioral therapist, labeled his outbursts as textbook cases of unchecked obsessive rigidity, arguing that society's indulgence in his antics only exacerbated his condition. Following the incidents, the court mandated a structured intervention program aimed at gradually exposing Larry to non-traditional pizza variants in a controlled setting. Logistical challenges emerged almost immediately. After Larry's violent response to a barbecue chicken pizza presentation, the court revised the program. A plexiglass barrier was installed between Larry and the culinary items, with a trained therapist narrating the ingredients in a neutral tone. Despite these interventions, Larry filed multiple legal appeals to terminate the program, citing emotional distress caused by the visual violation of the pizza form. The program was briefly suspended after it was discovered that the licensed therapists had not renewed a required certification with the state health board. For 3 months, Larry attended no sessions. During this gap, his behavior reportedly stabilized, though some believe this was simply due to not being forced to look at pizzas made with yogurt sauce. Conversely, others criticized his violent outbursts and intolerance. Advocacy groups for culinary inclusivity organized events promoting fusion pizzas, using slogans like, "Pizza is for everyone," and hosting festivals celebrating multicultural interpretations of the dish. A notable cultural moment occurred when a viral TikTok challenge called #PuristChallenge emerged, wherein participants filmed themselves presenting bizarre pizza creations. For example, dessert pizzas, taco pizzas, ramen pizzas. All while reciting Larry's infamous quote, "It's not pizza if it doesn't honor the form." This duality, both mockery and homage, cemented Larry's status as an odd but enduring cultural icon. Local schools, perhaps unwisely, attempted to incorporate Larry's dietary stance into their civics curriculum under the theme of personal choice and public disruption. A middle school elective titled Pizza and Protest was briefly piloted, featuring worksheets that asked students to identify where Larry's rights end and everyone else's lunch begins. Parent complaints followed swiftly, particularly after a homework assignment required students to create their own food manifesto. The program was quietly discontinued after a group of 7th graders staged a cafeteria sit-in, refusing all non-traditional pizza and chanting, "Cheese, sauce, crust, we don't want nothing else." Predictably, this only reinforced Larry's conviction that his cause was gaining traction. Whether he was right, or simply very loud, became increasingly difficult to separate from the reaction he inspired. As evidenced, human relationships with food transcend mere sustenance. They become entangled in identity, control, and resistance to change. In Larry Jasper's world, pizza is not simply food. It is a symbol, a doctrine, and a battlefield where tradition wages war against innovation. One might argue that his struggle reflects a broader human condition, the eternal tension between preservation and progress, between the comfort of the known and the allure of the new. It is in this tension that meaning is forged, a crucible where values are tested and reaffirmed. Yet, when all is said and done, the sanctity we assign to these culinary boundaries reveals itself as fragile, provisional, and perhaps utterly arbitrary. In the end, the purity Mr. Jasper defends is less a fortress and more an illusion, an echo chamber that amplifies difference while masking the deeper familiarity beneath. It is a paradox. The pursuit of authenticity collapses under the weight of its own inflexibility, leaving only the semblance of conviction without its substance. From these contradictions and fragile convictions arises a deeper realization, one that unsettles as much as it clarifies. The boundaries we draw and the purity we defend often prove less like firm principles and more like temporary anchors, struggling to hold meaning steady in an ever-shifting world. Certainty slips away, conviction grows fragile, and the very effort to preserve risks becoming a quiet surrender to irrelevance. And perhaps, more importantly, does it really matter if there's pineapple on it?